Either way,
Sponsored by Bud Light.
thank you guys for listening in again. We're back. How's everything been? Good?
Feels like it's been a bit.
And a little
Oh.
background. I like that, Marcus. Dropping
Get
it
in there, dude.
It has been a bit. It's been a couple weeks.
People don't know this because he's off camera, but he's actually playing the guitar for the intro.
Yeah, he does that whole thing.
Yeah.
But listen,
Every time he does.
let's get right to it. I got an interesting kind of thought on a few things.
Oh.
This whole past couple of weeks has been crazy with political chaos, violence, and people speaking out for or against. And the more I watch the news and the more I engage in that, the more I realize it's a show, right? And part of the show is this thing, our phones. And I've come to this true reckoning where it's like, if you do this and you engage your world in the AI of this thing, you live in one reality. And if you engage in the world around you, you realize that reality is very different, right? And I think this is the reality that people get sucked into as their entire world. Because when you're sitting at home, it's hard to like imagine sometimes that the rest of the world exists around you. It's kind of, you feel confined in everything you're doing. And it became obvious that like the health world is really, really, really confusing. So is the exercise nutrition world. And if you go just Google or AI, hey, how should I work out? Or what should I do to train? Or what should I do? All of these different opinions come. So how do we then, as kind of professionals in our arena, help the general population decipher that sort of information? Because it's just, there's so much of it that it confuses even the professionals.
Wow. Where to begin on this? So let's unpack a couple things. If we are trying to help someone figure out what they should do,
Yeah.
to me, that is the element of having no understanding of the knowledge they need to be successful.
Right.
Which then means that they have to go do something to ascertain what does work and what does not work for them.
Right.
So the trial by error, and as you go, you continue to test out things. Like it's the empirical approach for the most part. You know, like it's the scientific method where you have to go fail to get the next piece of information to then have the right to fail again, but differently, to iterate the process to success.
Right.
And I know that sounds 100% like exhausting, but that's how really amazing things don't happen by accident.
Yeah.
But you have to make accidents happen to get to that point.
Right.
Right. And I think that's and luckily, if you get to someone who's done that, learn from it, that's what a coach, that's what a mentor, that's what a physician should be able to provide.
Yeah.
Is great. I have all these failures behind me, and guess what? You don't have to fail in the same way. I can provide you the information, the roadmap, and so that you can iterate faster without the downside. And I think that's kind of like what our service structure is all about.
Yeah, and I think the reason I really wanted to talk about it is part of what I think the biggest advantage to coming to a place like this with people like us and the community around us that we surround ourselves with here is that we will help you navigate that confusing part of the world, right? Because as a layman, if you go into any arena that you're not a professional and you start reading about it, it becomes very difficult to decipher what's good, bad, and different. For instance, how much information out there is available for becoming an entrepreneur and make $1 million? And here's the key to success. So why is everybody not just doing that? Right? So like clearly whatever's being offered isn't always perfect for every single human. Now I'm going to take that a step further because what we always say and what we have stayed grounded in is we don't know what you will need. It's like when people ask, well, if I come see you, what am I going to get? And I'm like, I don't actually know.
I say my best guess.
Yeah, right. Because the best part about this is we're not going to pre-plan. It's you come in, we take data, we gather it, and then we come up with a plan to implement it, right? Now, the healthcare world in terms of misinformation or misguided information is constantly trending in directions for dietary intake, right? But there's been this new big push in the medical world in menopausal health, and they've been at Capitol Hill and on Capitol Hill campaigning and lobbying for changes on black box warnings in women's health world, right? So right now there's a statement that was just put out, changes to black box warning on hormone therapy for menopause, symptoms expected soon. So the FDA chief said we're going to start changing some things relative to menopausal treatments. The black box warning is the strongest type of alert the FDA puts on a drug label. Since 2003, labels of menopause treatments that contain estrogen, including pills, patches, sprays, and creams, have warned that their use can increase the risk of uterine and breast cancers as well as strokes and blood clots. That's what they've been saying. This warning was added after a large government-funded study, that's the WHI, the Women's Health Initiative. So the outset of that study was to provide better health care to women. Found that women taking estrogen pills after menopause had higher risk for some kinds of cancer, heart disease, stroke, compared with women who took a placebo. The study participants had an average age of 63, so many were menopausal when they started their therapy. After the study and the label changed, prescriptions for hormone replacement therapy drugs for women dropped by more than 70%. And doctors became reluctant to prescribe. It's really a tragedy. It's maybe one of the greatest screw-ups of modern medicine. It resulted in 50 million women being denied incredible therapy. This was stated by Makary, who's now in charge of our healthcare. This quote is from somebody in the government now, right? This study was completely false, misinterpreted, and sent data to the population under the signature of doctors, right? So it was made like fact. And it ruined healthcare for women. So in one essence, I'm sitting here saying, like, don't listen to all these crazy stuff on the internet because you don't know what to trust. I'm also presenting data that says the medical institution presented you with fake news, literally garbage, that changed the healthcare for women, ruined healthcare for women, and now has put us in a state where I need to defend the type of therapy I'm giving to people, which is balancing their endocrine system. Do you run into these same like missteps, false statements by governing bodies and kind of misinformation campaigns in the exercise world? Because I don't really know the right way to navigate that. Maybe you can offer some advice moving forward for people, consumers or practicing physicians or any professional, on how to help your consumer discern what's good and bad information.
Exercise and nutrition is a little bit different because everyone, naturally eats and does some exercise. Like you rarely say, I'm just going to treat myself. I'm going to give myself a root canal. So there's like this official partition between what you can do medically. Now you can be an informed consumer. Right. And that's maybe what we need to talk about more is how do you become an actual informed consumer? Yep. But with diet and nutrition and exercise, it's for the most part, it's a free thing. Yeah. Like you can buy whatever food you want. You can do whatever type of exercise you want. You don't need a gym to actually engage in exercise, right? Yep, yep. And because of that, people have this very unique, this is what's worked for me or this is what's worked for my friend. So there's a lot more of this, in the ether kind of knowledge or information that they treat more as beliefs than facts. Right. And I'd rather, in case of when someone has a very strong belief, and this might pertain to medicine, instead of saying it's a belief, what if you called it an assumption? Because belief means that somehow it represents who you are, right. Whereas an assumption is like you're trying to figure it out, right? There's this white belt mentality, this student mentality of like, I could be wrong and that's okay because I'm here to get better. I'm here to learn more. Whereas a belief means if it's wrong, I'm wrong and I'm bad. No different when you see like the nutrition zealots espousing the benefits of whatever. It's like, what if you're wrong? It's like, it can't be. I believe it too hard. I believe in it too much for it to be wrong.
This is real.
And then when they're given actual objective data, long-term studies and analysis, they are wrong, but they still don't give up their belief. So the first thing is, instead of saying it's a belief, say it's an assumption. Yeah. This is how I believe, or this is what I assume about how the world works as it pertains to nutrition, right? Because if they are in my office and they don't like what they see in the mirror, don't feel like they should, or don't want to look or feel how they should, then it's like, well, let's try something different.
Yeah,
and that's okay. Because I could be wrong. And that's why I always say, I'm going to give you my best guess.
Yeah.
And then together, we'll work on figuring out what's actually going to make you believe that this is the right thing.
Right.
And then we can assume or take it as a belief that you're at least on the right track.
Yeah. And I think with data to back it, right? So you start moving the needle, you start gaining muscle, you start...
I think that's a great point, too, because even before we had this very strong medical component, we were about objective measures.
Yeah.
You know, we had different ways of looking at how you're doing. We always had a way to measure against. And unlike, you know, where some communities are like, everything's great, you're great, nothing needs to change. It's like, what if I want to change?
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with you saying, like, you know, the body positivity thing and you're feeling great no matter what size you are and health comes in also, whatever. It's like, but if you don't, that's okay too.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you could be, or if you think you could be a lesser body weight and feel better, let's see.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right.
And it's an interesting thing too, where everybody says like, oh, you're so harsh on obesity. I'm actually not. I'm harsh on certain types of obesity. I'm only harsh on the obesity when it actually gives me the data to show somebody this is killing you.
Yeah.
I also have people with very high amounts of subcutaneous fat on their body, but not a ton of intra-abdominal visceral fat or fatty liver, that then I have that conversation like, listen, we have a little bit more of a runway here to lose this weight, because by default, structurally carrying around more weight is going to give your joints more stress. So we should optimize that. But the actual like metabolic benefit right now, we're not in such a crunch. So like, are we hypercritical of all obesity? Well, yeah, you should be, the same way as you are with any other health measure. But there's also ways to, like you said, adjust the protocols based on that person. And if we all sat around a circle and it was kumbaya and whatever body composition you were, we all loved it, that's fine. But then if we have an objective piece of data to say this is killing you, well, we should change that.
Yeah, right.
And I think we've always kind of stuck to that.
I also, just because it's salient right now, a lot of people that support the body positivity at one time had a horrible relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
And they hated themselves so much. And I don't agree with that, but their motivation to get healthier came from this really bad place. And then they reconciled, I don't have to hate myself.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, you don't have to hate yourself to get better either.
But I also, can I get real weird on you for a second?
Please.
If you hate yourself, like you hate the thing that you're looking at, then why not use that as a motivation to like maybe adjust the thing you're looking at to something you like, rather than just changing your mindset to be like, well, I'll just fucking like that no matter what. Like, I don't know, if me and you are working together right now and we start to dislike each other, either one of us has to adjust to the other, right? We find a happy medium, or we just say, well, then fuck it, we're not working together, we just don't get along. You can't do that with yourself. But instead of changing your mindset to just be accepting of something you don't like, maybe look at yourself and be like, you know what? It'd be pretty cool to fucking gain a little muscle, lose a little weight. I'll feel better. Like maybe trim. I don't know. Like there's got to be some area to work with yourself.
Without a doubt. And I think that you can look back at the first stage of motivation to me, no matter if you're talking about becoming a better athlete, building a business, whatever.
Yeah.
Use what you got.
Right.
You got some self-loathing, some hate. Use it in get something positive out of it. This is alchemy, right? Like make it. But the other point is, once you have some success, maybe you don't need that fuel the same way.
Yeah.
Like maybe we can find an alternative fuel source to keep you motivated, keep you disciplined, and actually at some point, like you want to love the life you have. And that's really hard to do if you hate what you look at, you hate how you feel, you hate your bank account, you hate, but that it doesn't have to be the same fuel source, because I don't think it will burn clean at any point.
Right.
So changing your source of motivation and changing your perspective about what you accomplished to get to the next level.
And now, once we've we dove into ourselves and learning about yourselves and adjusting to your mind, body, whatever. I've also had a ton of experience now with clients that call. You've definitely had this happen, where it's like, hey, I just wanted to go over a couple things, and we get on the phone call, and they're like, my friend does the same thing, and like they're on a different dose. My friend does this, and it's having this effect. Or there's a lot of comparison person to person. I think this is another thing we really need to try to get away from, right? Because I do believe in our environment here with exercise, muscle building, strength training, there's truly no comparison person to person. I don't think it's actually possible at this facility because everybody is on such a spectrum of strength and movement, but all with individual aspects that are pros and cons to them, that I think comparing like what you do to what I do in terms of movement is very difficult. But in the medical world, people do it all the time. So I always ask them like, well, great. Does your friend also eat the exact same food you like or think the same way about movies? Or do you guys respond to the same stimulus the same, right? So if you guys were both at a red light and it turned green, would you hit the gas at the same time? So environmental cues, environmental doses of certain things is purely individual. But then all of a sudden when it comes to medicine, it's like, oh no, my friend does this dose can't be right for me. How do you approach a situation like that where there's such a heavy burden of comparison that it even fills into like health world?
Yeah, I mean, there's that saying like comparison is a thief of joy. And I'm not quite, I don't necessarily ascribe to that. I think comparing yourself to anyone else can be tricky and ultimately unnecessary if the unit of measurement is on the wrong scale.
Right.
You know, so like a lot of people will always compare results rather than compare inputs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like if someone's like, I'm on the same exact diet as that person and I'm not losing as much weight, it's like, well, if it's the same diet and it's yielded results for that person, let's start with how compliant were you to that? Were you 80%?
Right.
90%? 100%? Is there something outside of the diet that's actually driving the bus here?
Right.
So it's like, let's look at all the things that can be contributing to the success or the outcome measure that and this is where social media only shows you the end result.
That's it.
It never shows you like, you know, like actually what took place over 20 years to have that overnight success happen.
Yeah.
You know, because it's the critical mass that people need to realize is the turning point. That's the moment where all this upside progress happens.
Right.
But for the most part, making sure that people understand that comparison, if it is helping you figure out your personal or unique problems, is really good. If you're just using comparison to put yourself down, it's another form of like self-loathing, right? It's like, I'm not that good. Nothing works for me. The world's against me.
Right.
And that person also hasn't made an informed decision in their whole life.
Yeah.
So let's get some more information. Let's really look at this and let's interrogate the inputs and see what you're missing.
Yeah.
And it just gives us a moment to like, again, get away from the emotionality of whatever that is, that response, and look at what you can actually take control of and empower yourself to get better.
Yeah, because it's amazing to me the influence of comparison, though. You know, and
totally.
You have
I do it
but you have these comparisons being made also, where like if you see someone randomly out and you haven't seen them in a couple of days and you bump into them at the store and you're like, how you doing? They're gonna be like, great, I'm doing well. They're not gonna be like, you know what? Fucking 2 days ago, my car got dented. You know what? Yesterday I parked and somebody parked next to me and I got out of the car, I slipped and my ankle hurts. And like a couple nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the night. Like they're not going to tell you all the shit that bothered them.
Yeah, right.
They're going to tell you like, oh, everything's great, which is why I go back to this thing being complete false reality, right? Like so much so to the point that you see medical doctors, I see it all the time, or influencers just selling nonsense because it's so easy to sell to a really confused group of people.
Sure.
Which is why healthcare on your own has become a thing. And I love the airplane industry comparison. Nobody in their right mind would ever email Delta and be like, hey, can you send me the flight plan prior to me getting on the plane. I just want to make sure like that's what we're doing. Do you mind sending me the data points that the pilot's going to be using to fly the plane? Like I need to know
what make sure it's
what
right.
altimeter he's using or she's using and like the radar setup. And then right before the flight, I'd love a walkthrough of the plane just to really make sure that I know that all the electronics are working. And then when I'm on the plane, I'm probably going to go up to the pilot and be like, hey, do you mind if I just do this on my own? I've been reading about this a lot.
Yeah.
At that moment in time, do you think there's any human that would take the controls, I mean, in their right mind, take the controls of that plane with that input of social media, Google, YouTube, whatever, learning about flying and be like, yep, I got this. Like, no fucking shot. But they will all day walk into a room with you and I and be like, no, this training technique, or I heard I should take A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is one of two things that makes me upset. One is they don't realize that I am a doctor that reads a ton, so I know about what they're usually talking about. But unfortunately, they bumped into other people that they've been the source of information for. So that's boo-hoo on the medical community. And the other sad thing is they've been let down to the point where they think they're better off flying that plane on their own than with the pilot.
Yeah, right.
So it's a tough thing to break into. But one field of healthcare, I think, is very underwhelmed with planning and output. And it's come to really become a neon sign in my vision. The whole Tylenol thing really bothered me. And what really bothered me about that is we're looking for a blame for a disease process that is called a spectrum. So by default, if you have a spectrum of stuff in front of you, and the variability on that spectrum is so profound, do you think logically you're going to find one thing that contributes to that?
No.
Right.
I mean,
it's an insane discussion.
Yeah.
But here's my real push for what we can talk about. And I'd love to ask the OBGYN community how aggressive they are with this. How many times do you meet with a woman in her 20s and do updated meetings throughout the year because there's a chance if they're sexually active they could get pregnant, where instead of just talking to them about pregnancy prevention and this and that, you actually say, hey, here's how you become a better vessel to handle birthing a human. Why don't we start working on exercise, nutrition, make sure you're balanced, make sure you're ready physically to have a child? Like, what do you think about that? We don't do anything on our 20-year-olds and up relative to direct training, relative to pre-pregnancy planning. What about this world?
Well, so clearly a biased answer here, but show me any medical specialty that wouldn't be improved if they had equipped that individual with better training, nutrition, and lifestyle work.
Yeah. So for the listeners out there, that was a lob and a spike. What Mike just said is relevant to every single aspect of life. Yes.
I mean, we have a couple orthopods in here. They are bombarded with people with lower extremity, foot, ankle, knee problems.
Yep.
They're also out of shape, unfit, overweight. So is it a correlation? I can't for certain say it's causation.
Right.
But what is going on where if you're a 5'4", 250-pound person, that your foot and ankle aren't going to start to feel the stress, the cumulative stress of being that, and then not being able to tolerate those types of loading on those small joints and structures. Or a cardiologist. How many cardiologists are going to go and say, oh, well, maybe we should do some diet and exercise? Oh, an endocrinologist. Oh, this would be helped by diet and like, where does it not make sense? And that's why we have taken the stance that this is a proactive preventative care facility. That's it.
And
because it's nowhere to be found in medicine.
Nowhere. Healthcare doesn't exist. And if you say to someone, go eat better and exercise, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding. People, we've been running the experiment. You don't need to run a placebo versus effect on the medication of food. Like, just look around.
Yeah, right.
People are sicker. Your average adult's on a bunch of pharmaceuticals. I don't listen to the census anymore. I just look around. I see what I see. And we have unhealthy people. So the data's there. You just have to look at it. So all of the advice to go exercise and eat better is falling on uneducated deaf ears that need instruction. It's like a little kid.
Well, I think one of the funniest things about the prominence of a GLP-1 now.
Yeah.
Where all these years people are like, oh, it's definitely my hormones. I can't lose weight.
Right.
It's like, oh, but you lost weight on a GLP-1.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Right.
Well, I ate less.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So again, like, is there hormonal factors? Of course. But the main mechanism that allowed you to lose weight finally was that you were eating less.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the downstream effects, your hormones did start to get better.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and I use that like pregnancy world as our target because the discussion is about autism of a child, right? So we are looking now at external factors as to why there are more autistic children. Why are we looking at the child or a pharmaceutical? Like, is it only me, or is the root cause of birth a mother and a father, right? Like, there has to be a sperm and an egg, and that meets, and that becomes a thing, which multiplies to become a human. So root cause of that human being's issues, I think we should start looking at the mothers and the fathers. We are now in a generation, multiple deep, from where the education system took rural country folk and it was set up to box them into an education system that then they would be industrialized and work in industrial settings. We're multiple generations deep on that, right? So now you have humans that were meant to be running around, exercising, eating whole foods, grains, meats. Now you've boxed them in, and we're 4 generations deep into that of a group of humans who are put into a room to sit, listen, not move. Gym class, PEs have been reduced, less movement, more cement, concrete jungles built around these kids. And now we're starting to see more autism. So parenting, schooling, it's a conglomerate. It's not just one thing. But the one thing in here I really want to talk about is that female body, right? Because that has to carry a kid. And if we're getting unhealthy into older age and we're starting to see more adults unhealthy, what does that say about our kids? We're seeing more childhood obesity, childhood diabetes, childhood illnesses that aren't investigated yet are about to start popping up more. We just haven't tracked them yet, right? Like the heart attack in the 30-year-old, we'll probably be able to say like, well, at 12 years old, that started, but we're not really ready for that. So you have all of this stuff happening, and I think now we need to start looking into the health of the people having children, because now your 20s and your 30s having the kids with higher autistic rates in terms of diagnoses of those children are kids of which raised were very unhealthy. The cereal generation, processed food generation, plastics generation.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm missing something, but if you look at the natural progression of mothers, you're now into the mother group that was raised on a processed world. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm not an expert in this type of stuff. However,
but your opinion matters.
You can I think make the strong argument that it can't be this silver bullet of like just don't take Tylenol, and if it is, great, then we don't ever have to talk about autism being a thing anymore.
Right.
Now that we've cured it, you know.
Right.
The other thing is the way that we've been able to expand the diagnosis, because autism, and correct me if I'm wrong, used to be binary.
Right.
This used to be, are you autistic or
on
aren't
or
you?
off. Right.
Now it's this continuum, and I would imagine over the last 40 years since its progression of study, that continuum has grown. So now we have better ways of diagnosing, a larger way to diagnose, bigger criteria that fits on this spectrum. So yeah, the incidence of overall autism is up. And I saw a study that said the extreme cases of autism has not. So it's actually gone down relative to population size, but it's the same absolute number. So those may be purely genetic or whatever contributing factors that you can't really account for, at least we don't have a handle on, has not changed at all.
Yep.
But to your point, if the vehicle at which this organism comes into the world and the contributing factors of the genes of the mother and the father are continuing to degrade,
right,
are we shocked that there's more problems downstream?
Correct.
And again, when you go to environmental pollution, let's talk about big things here, not just, Tylenol, but like
big shit.
Unhealthier people for a longer period of time, and more people are having kids later.
Yeah.
So now, like,
and how about this? We in adults see it all the time: testosterone, estrogen, all these hormones affecting people's mental well-being. Now you have obesity pandemics, epidemics with birthing mothers. Do we maybe think that their hormonal levels circulating through the mother that are going through the baby in an unhealthy mother are going to affect that child's development? I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Like if they were smoking crack or drinking booze or smoking cigarettes, you see an effect.
Yeah, we know that.
We know that. So clearly what they're eating, what they're doing in terms of movement matters. And it brings me back to a big thing. I think people forget, like, what you eat is medicine. Like if you took the food you ate and broke it into a molecular basis and took a bunch of pills and broke them up too, it's all made of the same shit.
Yeah.
Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, some nitrogen, like it's all kind of the same thing.
Right.
So we got to start looking at our food choices, at our environmental choices, at the vessels in which we are making things, being a mother with a child in it, and all of the contributing factors, rather than trying to blame the world. And I think what triggered that thought, as you said, an informed decision was never made by someone who just blamed external forces all the time.
Correct.
So maybe we need to start as humans being like, okay, moms, let's have a little accountability to this. Maybe it's not the Tylenol. And I will make a statement on Tylenol. If you need to use it, fine. If you don't, try not to.
Yeah.
It's just like everything else in the world. It's like a bad food. If you're going to have to eat a little bit of a rotten apple just to get by that day, fine, but don't eat the whole rotten apple if you know it's going to make you sick. Same shit with Tylenol. So once we remove our tendencies to try to blame something and you look within, I think we can realize that the health of the mother can be adjusted drastically, and we're getting more and more unhealthy people having kids, and we're starting to see more and more unhealthy children. Yeah. I think it's that straightforward. Now, we did a little bit on testosterone and men's health, and I think it's a big deal. Guys are in this weird spot, I think, where it's like a lot of society wants men to be like all this vulnerability thing, where it's like, I'm so willing to talk about my emotions, which is great, and we should. But you also need to be able to talk about your emotions and like have some sort of ability to maintain who you are, right? Like you don't want to be so vulnerable that you lose yourself. Part of what I think drives somewhat of like a motivating factor in a lot of men I see that are treated with hormonal balance is when you get their testosterone to a good enough level, it's not purely their libido, it's not purely their muscle mass. It's almost like they start to feel alive. Their thoughts are quick. They feel sharp. They connect to ideas. They manage conflict, solving problems without second guessing yourself, right? So like we talk about something, we come to a decision, that's a decision, we move on. Have you seen any changes in clients you've been working with since we've started this combo approach and seeing people with more motivation or more energetic involvement in what we're doing on the exercise world?
Well, let me backtrack and just talk. I think the stigma around testosterone, goes back to like childhood. Like when you've heard about it, it was always related to cheating. It was always related to bodybuilders and athletes that were very muscular. So you associated that testosterone meant being like super male in terms of characteristics,
right? Especially
physically. I think over that, that generation that we share, it's lost on like, what are the other, like, what does testosterone do for anybody? Because both males and females possess testosterone just in different amounts. But there is something that is really under the radar when it comes to low testosterone and symptoms with men on the mental, emotional side. And I'll just speak off of my own individual experience is before I was on TRT, I had a really tough battle with long COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember getting my labs right after that. And it looked like I aged like 20 years in 6 months. Like my testosterone went from probably close to 1,000 to like 400.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a 60% reduction in 6 months. And at the time, mentally, I was lethargic. I couldn't get out of bed. I had no motivation.
Yeah.
And it was probably the first time in my adult life where I was like questioning how depressed I was.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and for me and everyone who knows me, like that is the antithesis of how I carry myself.
Right.
And I was struggling. And the first thing I noticed when I did start testosterone replacement therapy was, holy shit, I could think.
Yeah.
It was like I could not separate emotional, irrational thoughts.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay focused. And the first thing I noticed probably within maybe the first month was I could just think again.
Yeah.
I didn't care what my body, I didn't care about anything, but like I had the bandwidth to get through my day, talk to my family, work with clients. Like, so for me, I am 100% biased on like all these seemingly intangible qualities of TRT and how it made me feel mentally. Yeah. And then emotionally, like I felt stable again. Like thinking clearly, like grounded me. And it was then for me to be able to make good decisions, get through my day, look at things, prioritize things, and have better interactions with everyone who I talked with. And then I was able to actually communicate what I was feeling. Like I was almost suffocated by my own thoughts at that time. So.
And I think a lot of people forget the opposite when they struggle with inability to, the ability to make decisions becomes difficult. The ability to be motivated becomes difficult.
Like
anxiety. Then anxiety leads to temper, which actually becomes worse when you're anxious about the thing you're about to get angry about. You end up flipping off the rails even harder. You're not necessarily sad or like depressed. You're just like, oh, something might be missing, and you're disconnected. I think
that might have been the hardest thing. I couldn't figure out what I was.
Right.
Because I never really had those emotional responses. So like, is this what anxiety is? Is this depression?
Right.
Like that was the hardest part, in all honesty. And that was cleared up almost within maybe the first 4 to 6 weeks of starting my course.
Yeah. And I've seen now all ages respond really appropriately to that. I've also seen a lot of all ages people on the Vyvanse, Ritalin, also Wellbutrin, all of the anti-anxiolytic, antidepressant route. When you do balance their hormones, many of them are able to come off a lot of those meds, because I do think we mistake hormonal imbalance with like depression. The biggest example is, I would say 60% or more of menopausal women that sit in my office across from me will go through their med list. And involved in their med list is Zoloft, Wellbutrin, or some sort of medication for mental wellness. And they've always been given it right around that perimenopause time frame. So that in itself tells you when your hormones become a little maladjusted, things are going to change. The perimenopause talk is huge because it's women's health, and women's health has a pretty good front vocally and front in terms of advertising, but behind the scenes, the medical industry is just, for some reason, turns deaf ears. I think that's changing. But the men's health industry, which we talk about a lot, the midlife crisis. Now, we've never really brought this up on here, and it kind of just clicked in the past week or two. And I've been thinking about this midlife crisis thing, and every man in the middle of his life has this moment where they go through this thing and then they need to like have some outlet or whatever. I think the midlife crisis is what we should call periandropause, right? Because as a male goes through andropause, you will eventually get to the point where your testosterone goes low enough that it doesn't actually affect how you feel. It's so low. But that periandropause phase, I think, is the midlife crisis. And I think it's all the feelings of what we think a midlife crisis is. Like, oh my God, I don't feel comfortable with myself. I'm not like, I'm going to go buy a really fancy car because that makes me look good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on this like super crazy fancy vacation to show people like I can do this. Or I'm going to, like socially start doing different things to prove I'm more of a man, when really inside you're just shrinking and feeling lesser and lesser, so that the outside world to present to them, you need to dress yourself up with more quote unquote jewels, right? What do you think about this periandropause thing? Like maybe this is a thing we're onto. Like you must see it in men that come in and say, all right, I'm 42, I want to get jacked, right?
Yeah. To me, it's like when you're talking about any time there's an attempt to latch on something externally, whether it's the fancy car, a watch, just something that like, I'm not against materials.
No.
But there's this overemphasis that that's going to fill the void of what you're feeling internally. And it's probably because they can't reconcile their emotions. So the easy, low-hanging fruit is to, I'll just buy a sports car, or I'll join this golf country club. I'll do these things to almost like try to fill those gaps. And then that becomes worse, and you just keep on doing all this stuff that doesn't really materialize into a solve. Right? Because the root cause, like we talked about, is internal. Now, that could be aligned with some neurochemical responses that are going in because of the aging process, but also let's take a look at their lifestyle. Are they, do they have good relationships with food, with their spouse? Are they fit? Right. Are they taking care of themselves? Are they understanding of what could be accomplished if they allocated their attention to something that actually has meaning?
Yeah.
Because I think that's at the end of the day, like people struggle when they don't have purpose, when they don't have meaning, and just buying a car provides none of that.
Yeah, I think that's everything. We should just talk about that. I mean, I think that's a big deal in men's health world, is feeling value for what you're doing. I almost sometimes wonder, this sounds so stupid, but like if we just had like a guy's day, everybody like just walked across the stage and a group of dudes just clapped for him. Every guy kind of likes a little congratulations for what you're doing. And I don't think we congratulate enough, because the only world in which congratulations becomes apparent to the outsiders is where the money is, right? So like if you make a ton of money, you're revered as you're successful, this great human.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like the actual tasks of everyday living are not carried out by some of the wealthiest people on the planet. They're carried out by the people like cutting the lawn, picking up the trash. Like New York City had a trash sanitation department strike for a while, and they saw pretty quick how important those people are, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I think we owe it to everybody as humans to like give value to those people too. But some of that comes from, if you don't value yourself, it is very difficult to then give somebody else the feeling of you appreciating them. What do you think?
I don't think there's ever been a time in history where it's easier to feel less about yourself or inferior to someone else, because of like what we talked about before with this comparison. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you're flooded with images, and you're flooded with people's highlight reels on social media. You're flooded with success stories all around, and it's really easy to doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And now if you don't have the internal environment, biochemically speaking, hormonally speaking, and then reinforced with bad habits, too much alcohol, not enough exercise, not enough good relationship. Like, is this surprising anymore that people struggle?
Right.
And they struggle quietly for long enough until something breaks.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean like they hurt themselves. It could, but they probably hurt people around them.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'll post videos of lifting and some pictures of myself and say, oh, I'm a doctor and look how good a shape I'm in or what. And the reason I do it has nothing to do with compare yourself to me. It's just like, I think we have both have the same mindset. It's like, come do this with us, right? Like, come on, guys, like you can do it, because everybody soon to forget. And I'll keep reminding people, it wasn't very long ago that I couldn't do like push-ups, and then a 20-pound carry with a dumbbell at the end of a 30-minute cardio class, I was dead. I had to put it down and stop. So like, I'm not here to be like, oh no, I've been doing this, it's so easy. It ain't easy, right? You got to put the time in. But I feel more like it's come do this with us, because you can build so much value in yourself the minute your body feels good. And the minute you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, all right, I like what I'm seeing, whether or not it really changes what you're visualizing. If your chemical makeup is better, you will see that image as a more acceptable version of what you want, right? And we're always striving to be better, but you got to actually like what you're looking at.
Well, I would say every piece of content we put out, every podcast, every social media post for us is an invitation to come with us.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and like it goes back to maybe the information that you need to acquire is by doing something different. So try us.
Yeah.
Like come out, come down, talk to us, get a workout in, come through a month of programming and just see for yourself if it's different. And like, we're pretty humble about like, we don't try to sell you anything, but the invitation's always there.
Yeah. And I think the coolest part is it's fail proof. Like it actually can't fail. There's no way to fail getting healthy if you come do this, because there's no gimmick. You're never going to be told to eat something all day because that's what this is real healthcare. And I think the better part is you're in an environment where everybody else wants that for you. And I think that's the biggest punchline here out of this entire conversation. Like, I have never encountered a human in this gym that's looking at someone else being like, you know what? I hope they can't lift that. Yeah. I've never ever seen that. I've never seen anyone not excited for somebody else
to win,
to get better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you need to be around. And it's real push, because it doesn't matter if they're stronger, weaker, different size, shape, whatever it is, they're still rooting for you to be a better version of yourself.
Right.
Marcus, how you doing, man?
All good. You?
Good. Anything new going on in Marcus world?
Nothing too crazy. Still working. Everything's good.
How's your business? Busy?
Very good, yeah.
So Marcus, as everyone knows, behind the scenes helps us curate and procure all our videos. He's been a pleasure to have around. He's a health fitness guy himself. We're trying to convince him to come in the early mornings, but
he's scared.
He's a little scared right now.
He's a young buck.
Yeah. We value him. We'll figure out how he values himself. What I would say to finish on is, what do you think the coolest thing about seeing people you work with that get their kind of hormone world biochem adjusted when they get it back? Like, do you feel like they're like, all right, I feel like I'm back. I didn't realize how far I got out of feeling good. It wasn't just physical. You want to they learn how to reignite their fire to kind of take that day on. Like, are you visualizing those changes in anybody that we're working with together, that then they're becoming a little different version of what they were?
Overall, it's someone's excitement for what could be now, and their realization that maybe, like midlife crisis, like people think you're 50, you're in a midlife crisis. Yeah. Well, midlife technically is 37.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that might be actually a real depressing moment when people are like, what am I doing? I'm going nowhere. They just might have this overall sense of dissatisfaction. And once they get going, and this is why momentum's such a powerful thing in life and sport, whatever, is that they start to think bigger than what they previously thought was possible.
Yeah.
And they see the upside of what they're doing, and they can actually visualize that their life is going to get better.
Yep.
And that is like one of the best things about working in conjunction, because there is a long-term plan now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have such buy-in to that. And they also feel maybe more responsible for having to make that happen, because they don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it's like how most people think they're more risk averse than, into like upside.
Yeah.
So now that they know that they can be healthy and fit and capable and empowered, they don't want to go back.
Right.
And I think that's almost the scarier thought, is like, man, I don't want to feel like shit anymore. I don't want to be 20 pounds overweight. I want to take control of my life. And also the peripheral benefit of like, oh my God, my business is crushing it now.
Yep.
I'm a better dad now. Like, it's all these other things that are such strong positive reinforcements that don't take place in the gym at all.
Yeah. And I think there's nowhere in life you can say it's worse to be in worse. Like, there's never a time where being physically better is going to harm you.
Yeah.
Like, never. There's no profession on the planet where having better physical fitness, less muscle fatigue is a liability.
Yeah.
Like, it's always an upside. And I think people are starting to realize that. So I think, we're going to continue spreading the word, letting people feel empowered, I think, is our drive, right? Like, give people the knowledge, give people the education.
Well, you said it a couple of weeks ago. It's like, we just want to teach people how to fish.
How to fish. That's it, man.
You know?
And we don't need to feed you the fish. You just got to learn how to fish on your own.
Correct.
Until next week, I think if you got any questions, clearly on any of our Instagrams, we're going to start consolidating some of those also. But stay tuned to the podcast. Give us a follow, and we'll be back next week.
Where is our podcast?